Welcome to Soldier's Legacy, where stories of courage, sacrifice, and unbreakable bonds are brought to life. The air was salty, carried in waves from the nearby ocean. A cool breeze rustled the flags along the Navy base's parade ground, and the sound of boots hitting pavement in perfect unison echoed in the crisp morning air. Dozens of families and friends stood gathered behind a rope line, watching the SEAL team's public demonstration. Lena pulled her jacket tighter around herself. Though the morning wasn't cold, she wasn't here for the spectacle. She wasn't here for the gunfire simulations, the explosive breaching, or the perfectly choreographed takedowns. She had no family in the Navy, no friends in uniform. She had come for one reason: to stand far enough back to be invisible, yet close enough to see something she had long kept at a distance. She had lived a life surrounded by this world, a world of discipline, honor, and unspoken bonds forged under fire. But that was years ago. Another chapter she had sealed shut. And yet, something had pulled her here today, like a tide she couldn't resist. She stayed at the farthest edge of the crowd, her dark hair tucked under a cap. When the first group of SEALs ran onto the demonstration field, the crowd erupted into cheers. Lena didn't cheer. Her eyes scanned the group, not for a face, but for something else. The men moved like one entity, their black fatigues and gear blending into each other. They scaled walls, fired blanks into the air, dove and rolled in a blur of precision. The commander barked orders into his headset, his voice sharp but steady. She recognized him, not by name, but by presence. The kind of posture years of leadership carved into a man's bones. She couldn't help but notice the small scar near his temple, the way his eyes tracked every movement on the field. Then it happened. After the final demonstration, a hostage rescue simulation, the team gathered near the front for a Q&A with the audience. The commander stepped forward, removing his helmet. His hair was streaked with gray, his face lined in the way of someone who'd lived hard years. The families clapped. Children waved flags. The commander smiled faintly and began answering questions about training, missions, and life as a SEAL. Lena's plan was to slip away quietly before it ended. But as she turned, a gust of wind blew her jacket open, just enough to expose the inside of her forearm. It was small, barely 3 inches, but the tattoo was unmistakable to anyone who knew its meaning, a trident flanked by 2 dates. One above and one below. The commander's words faltered mid-sentence. His sharp eyes locked on her. For a moment, Lena thought she was imagining it, that he couldn't possibly have seen from that far away. But his gaze didn't waver. He excused himself from the crowd, ignoring the puzzled looks from his men. His boots crunched against the gravel as he walked directly toward her. "Where did you get that?" His voice was low, but there was an edge to it. Lena glanced down at her arm, then back at him. "It's just a tattoo." "No," he said firmly. "That's not just a tattoo. That S, a unit mark. Those dates. You're not supposed to have that." She shifted uneasily. "Maybe I'm not. But I do. Who are you?" His tone wasn't hostile. It was cautious, disbelieving. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you. Try me." She hesitated, then exhaled slowly. "My brother was in your unit, Mason Clark." The commander's face changed instantly, his jaw tightening. "Mason," he whispered. "You're his sister." She nodded. "That tattoo, that's his," she said quietly. "It's mine now. He gave it to me before." Her voice broke slightly. "Before he didn't come home?" The commander looked away, blinking hard. The crowd behind them was still engaged with the other SEALs, but here, in this quiet corner of the field, the air felt heavier. "I remember Mason," he said finally. "He was one of the best. We lost him in—" He trailed off, as if the words weighed too much. "I know where you lost him," Lena said, her voice steady now. "I know the mission. I know more than you think." He studied her carefully. "How?" "Because he told me before he deployed for the last time. He said if he didn't make it back, I needed to come here one day. To understand why he chose this life." The commander's throat worked as if he were swallowing something bitter. "He never told me he had a sister. He kept his family out of his files, said it was safer that way. It wasn't safe, she said softly. Losing him destroyed my mother. My father hasn't spoken more than a sentence to me in years. And she paused. I didn't want to see anyone in uniform again, till today, he said quietly. Until today. The commander looked down at the tattoo again, his gaze lingering on the lower date, the day Mason had died. He reached into the pocket of his vest and pulled out something small, wrapped in a worn piece of cloth. I've been carrying this since that day, he said, handing it to her. I didn't know who to give it to. Guess I do now. She unwrapped it slowly. Inside was a small weathered patch, the kind sewn inside a SEAL's uniform. The stitching was faded, but she recognized the name instantly. Mason Clark. Lena's breath caught. I thought they sent everything home. They sent what they could, he said quietly. This I kept, maybe because I couldn't let go. Mason saved my life that day. Took a step where I should have. You don't forget that. She closed her fingers around the patch, feeling the weight of it despite its size. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The commander's expression softened, the rigid lines of command easing just a fraction. You came to watch, he said finally. But now, I think you came for something else. Maybe, she admitted. Maybe I needed to remember him the way he lived, not the way he died. The commander nodded slowly. Then you should know your brother wasn't just good at his job. He was the kind of man every SEAL hopes to be. Brave, loyal, unshakable. I've seen a lot of men break under pressure. He never did. Lena felt the sting in her eyes, but she didn't let the tears fall. Instead, she pulled her sleeve back down over the tattoo. Thank you, she said simply. As he turned to go back to his men, he paused. Lena, he said, if you ever want to know more about Mason, the things that aren't written in any report, you know where to find me. She nodded, clutching the patch tightly. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was carrying his memory alone. If this story touched your heart, like, comment, and subscribe, because every story like this deserves to be remembered. This is Soldier's Legacy, where heroes live forever.